This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There we are. We are back here at beautiful Toyota of Hollywood. Yes, sir. Come on out here. You can get a great deal. Take it from a man that drives a Toyota himself. I got my Camry. My daughter got a Corolla here a couple months ago, actually. She's loving it, too. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. That is David Dwork. When we grow up, we want to be just like him. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Please don't say that. You know, I want to be like you when I grow up, Big O.
Why is that?
You're living the dream, brother.
I am. I'm living the dream.
I mean, from the outside looking in, you know, you got a sweet gig. You get to talk about sports all the time. You always got a smile on your face. Maybe if the Dolphins, win a Super Bowl, we'd all be a little bit happier. But I mean,
yeah, it would
be worse.
Yeah, but you know what, bro? This is the missing piece. We have Super Bowl championships. We have Marlins championships. We have, the Heat championships. And by the way, you notice what's happening, right? Have you noticed? Because we talked about it here on the show. Back in the 70s, the Miami Dolphins went to the Super Bowl and they lost. And then they came back and won 2 in a row. Well, the Miami Heat in 2010 put it all together and lost, and then came back and won 2 in a row. Somebody lost and is 2 wins away from winning it and is good enough to come back and win it again next year. It could be the 3rd time in South Florida history that we do this. So, you know what I'm saying? We need to complete it here, bro. We don't have hockey championship. So this will be the 4th, and maybe Messi and the boys can add the 5th. Who knows?
Yeah, it's fun. I actually wrote about that comparison before the final. The Dolphins in 71, a lot of the players, they said, we were so happy to be there. And we were just looking around. I think it was in New Orleans that year. And they were just so enthralled with getting to the Super Bowl for the first time that they didn't even think about like, oh, yeah, we're about to get slapped in the face by the Dallas Cowboys. And then they came back the next year with a whole different focus, business as usual. And it's been very similar with the Panthers. Like, I don't want to say last year they were the 8th seed getting into the the 16th seed getting into the playoffs. And they went on that incredible run. And then they got to the final and half the team was hurt and just did not go well. This year, it's been a totally different feel. I've talked about a few times the difference between when they beat Carolina to go to the Stanley Cup last year and how it felt like they had just won a championship in the arena. And when they beat the Rangers this year to go to the final, and it felt like just business as usual. It felt like just any other win, game 52 of the regular season. This team, they're focused, they're mature, they know what they want. And I don't think, as we've seen throughout the playoffs, they're not letting anything kind of get them off their focus, whether it's physicality, whether it's frustrations. They've got a job to do, and they're 2 wins away from doing it.
Yeah, man. It is impressive. And what I love is a lot like the Dolphins, they were on a mission. A lot like the Heat, they were on a mission because they had suffered that defeat the year before. And it's just they're so focused. And let me tell you something. You guys all covered it, and I know you guys do a great job on the hockey show too. But one of the things that I was very proud of with them, and I talked about this on the show, they didn't go back and because the Oilers got dirty, they then started, getting out of their game and take cheap shots. They kind of held their composure because they have their target is the title. That's what they want, and they're focused on it. And let me tell you something. What they've done to the Oilers in the last 4 periods, because it was the 3rd period of the first game, and then the last 3 periods, that's where this frustration is coming out because they did the same shit to the Rangers. Once they figure your ass out, your stars aren't going to get as many shots as they could. And now the Oilers are playing a game that is not them. And when they were playing their game in the first 2 periods, they were peppering the shit out of Bob. So kudos to the Panthers. They have not gotten out of their game. Mentally, they're super tough. And look at the Oilers. They're already cracking mentally.
Yeah, it goes back to that Boston series after the Sam Bennett hit on Brad Marchand. And the Bruins, there were no secret that they were going after the Panthers. And Florida was just like, you do your thing. We're going to worry about winning hockey games right now. It's the second round of the playoffs. And that's kind of continued throughout. I think also with this, you talk about the way that the Panthers are playing their game and taking over from the Oilers. Edmonton had 13 high danger shots in the first 2 periods of game 1.
Right.
In the 4 periods since, they've had one high danger shot. Florida is absolutely shutting them down. They're frustrating the Oilers, as we're starting to see. And I think tomorrow night in game 3 is going to be the big test. Will Edmonton be able to take back a bit of that offensive game that they've really run throughout the playoffs? And also, not to take away, like, their defensive hockey was superb. In that Dallas series, the way that they suppressed the Stars offense was no joke. But the Panthers, look, we knew coming into the series that it was going to be a situation kind of like best on best. One of the best offenses in the league against one of the best defenses in the league. Great power play against great penalty kill. And to this point, it's only been 2 games, but Florida appears to be the one that's really imposing its will. And if they can continue to do that in game 3, we may not see another game in South Florida.
No, we may not, because I was going to follow up with that. Dude, they're more dangerous on the road than they are at home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how screwy it is with this team. It's like they're more dangerous on full strength than they are in the power play.
That's their game, man. That 5-on-5 game, they've gotten so good at like playing a cohesive game, regardless of which lines or pairings are on the ice, how they're compiled, however Paul Maurice decides to comprise his lines up. They're so accustomed to this point of where they need to be on the ice, who they need to fill in for, so they can continue to play that aggressive style and not have it shoot them in the foot defensively. They're just so well at covering each other. It's like a hive mind out there. It's like they're sharing a brain. And it's credit to Paul Maurice for implementing it. Credit to Bill Zito and Matt Caldwell for recognizing that what Paul Maurice can do would lead to this. Yeah. And it's full circle at this point, man.
Yeah, and you know what I love? Like, okay, when we go back to the mid-90s, okay, you needed Paul Laws. You needed people to get physical because, you were clutching and grabbing. You didn't have a lot of offense. So you kind of had to have thuggery a little bit involved in it. Well, see, the Panthers aren't really about thuggery. Like, when the Rangers brought out their thug to try to play him a little bit more also, in that series, towards the end. The difference is the Panthers now, unlike some teams, they have to all of a sudden turn on the thuggery. No, see, the Panthers' physical play just wears your ass out every period, every game. And we saw it in the last series where they just sucked the entire life out of the Rangers, that by the time we got to, game 5, the Rangers just weren't the same team anymore. They didn't have the same life because their confidence was already shaken at that point. They knew they weren't the better team at that point. And that's why the Panthers don't need to get goony on you. They don't need the goons, bro. They are physical and they wear on you. And that part is the frustrating part with team. That's why I keep saying that this team reminds me of the Kings from 10, 12 years ago that won a couple of titles. Big, physical, can knock the shit out of you, but at the same time, they can score and skate with you all they want.
Yeah, they don't have to get out of their game to impose physicality on you. And it's not just like the forechecking and the hitting gets a lot of attention, obviously so. But the frustration for what Florida does is the way that they take away your time and space, no matter where you are on the ice.
Relentless.
Whether you're trying to get out of your own zone, whether you've got the puck and you're rushing up the ice. Florida's defenders are so tight with their gaps that they give you no space. If you can get around them, great. I dare you to try. They've got amazingly good skating defensemen, whether it's Forsling, whether it's Mikkola, whether it's Montour. Brendan Ekblad's got wheels. At the end, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, this guy's on the 3rd defensive pairing, and he could be a top pairing guy if he wanted to, the way he's been healthy and playing this season. So yeah. The combination of the depth and having such skill from the top to the bottom of what they can put onto the ice, but also, as I said, it's the way that they're all playing such a cohesive way. It's been incredibly difficult for teams to overcome. We saw it throughout the regular season. We figured that it was going to be a continuing thing in the playoffs. And as we've seen, whether it's taking Boston out of their game, whether it's taking the Rangers out of their game, what they've done to Edmonton through the last 2 games, 4 periods, whatever you want to say, it's playoff hockey at its best. This team is performing it to perfection. And it's just kind of watching it all play out in front of you, really. It's almost like, I don't want to say, people don't like hearing the word script or whatever, but it's like you can see the script laid out in front of you. Yeah. It's just kind of all happening.
Yeah. By the way, Eric went from an almost own goal to the goal. That's I'm old, bro. You think you've seen everything in sports, and then there's always something new that you'll see. And Larson, from one almost screw up to then the goal. And by the way, for the setup for him to score, that was a beautiful play. That was a beautiful pass to set him up to at the same time. But that was funky right there.
It was quite a range of emotions for like a 10-second span, or maybe it is even less.
Yes.
But look, as your goal, like I can tell you from, I can speak to it as a goaltender. You always have to be ready. You always have to be focused. So I'm sure that was really no big deal for Bob. You're always watching for the puck, and you want to be able to jump out and play it if you need to. But the way that it all played out, like, oops, I put a shot on my own goalie, and then he's hauling ass down the ice to be part of a rush. You mentioned the play by Anton Lundell, getting into the zone, dropping the puck, and then Mikkola, the way he shot that one-timer with the puck up on its side, and it was able to kind of dance a little bit on the way in. Just great all-around play. And, again, kudos to Nico Mikkola. The guy had, 3 goals during the regular season. Now he scores, probably the biggest goal of his life in the Stanley Cup final. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. And that was just absolutely awesome with Larson. That was just a total trip. The other thing, dude, one of the things I talked about with the Heat and their problem, and I know I think more and more people have now come to my side because I took a lot of heat early on, because I would say that Bam is not really a franchise player. He's not a star because he can't impose his offensive will. And in the NBA, if you can't impose your offensive will on somebody, you can't be a star in that league. And so that's my problem with the Heat. It's Butler, and there are no other stars, really good player. What's it called? Bam, but he's not a star. He's not going to carry you offensively. Whereas that's what I love about the way Zito has built this team. Dude, they're loaded with stars.
Stars that can play defense.
And they can score. And they can they can carry you, bro. If it's Reinhart one night, it'll be Barkov, it'll be Tkachuk, and then you add a Tarasenko and you add a Bennett to it. And I mean, it's just loaded, dude. This is a team that can count on so many people. You added a guy that stirs the drink in Tkachuk, right? Because he's the guy that really sets the tone for everybody. But the beauty of the Panthers, they're so damn good that they don't need to rely on Tkachuk to be the guy every single night. Like on the other side, by the way, you kind of need Connor and Dries.
Draisaitl.
Draisaitl to I call him Crapsaitl. That's why I'm getting confused. I like calling him Crapsaitl. But those guys need to be superstars almost every night for them, pretty much. Whereas the Panthers, dude, they just come at you at waves, man.
Yeah, it's the depth. But you kind of mentioned it before, but like you got Barkov, Reinhart, Bennett, Tkachuk, Lundell, Verhaeghe. These guys are all tenacious two-way players. Like Tkachuk, probably the least of the bunch, and he plays tough defense. Look at he chased down Connor McDavid in the third period of the last game and stopped the scoring chance. And again, to Tkachuk's credit, not the fastest guy. McDavid's playing a ton of minutes. Maybe he didn't quite have as much juice in the third period as he usually does. But either way, to this point, the depth on this team, and it all comes back to Bill Zito. The way he's built them up, the moves that he first made, bringing in Gudas and Hornquist to change the culture in the room and building from that out. Reinhart, Bennett, all these moves that he brought in. He needed to fix the penalty kill. He brings in Stanley. He brings in Mikkola. Like, it's just been amazing. The fact that this guy, the last 4 years, he's been nominated, but not won GM of the year, it's almost an insult. He doesn't care. Credit to Zito. All he wants to do is win the Stanley Cup. But it's a little insulting that this guy has transformed a franchise that we know what the Panthers were for 25 years. We knew what they were. And Zito shows up and he changes it completely. And now they are a championship culture team. They're 2 wins away from becoming a championship team. And, their credit to go all around. But I think Zito, first and foremost, this guy has just been spectacular since they hired him in South Florida.
Dude, I was playing the Meow Mix theme song for the Panthers a couple of years ago. Meow, 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 meow. That was their theme song because I was so mad that they were such pussies because Trocheck would get rattled and killed and slammed and nobody would do a damn thing. And it just was not a team that had any toughness, would not answer the bell there. Now you can't F with the Panthers at all, bro. Okay? You just are not going to mess with them because they're going to mess with you. And they're going to mess with you constantly anyways because that's their game, But that Zito knew right away when he got in there, he knew he had to change. The team was soft. And there was no way you were going to win with a soft team in the NHL. It's just impossible. Playoff hockey gets too physical. It's too tough. And he knew right away he had to change the culture. And by the way, how in the hell did he not get GM of the year? I just don't understand that.
Blows my mind. Three of the last 4 years, he gets nominated and then he doesn't win. And look, you can argue it's a popularity contest. The same guys won it the last 2 years. The same guy won it the last 2 years before that. Very popular guy. And again, not to take anything away from Jim Nill in Dallas or Lou Lamoriello in the Island.
No, I know.
Bill Zito absolutely deserves the credit. He absolutely deserves the recognition. Look at the black and white. Look at it on the paper. Look at the way he's transformed this team, the way he's built every piece of the roster. The only guys that were here when he got here are Barkov, Ekblad, Bob. That's it. The entire team has been totally revamped by Zito, and he's built it into this cohesive unit that plays excellent playoff hockey. He doesn't care about winning GM of the year. We all care for him. He just wants the cup. But, dude, it's frustrating. It's insulting. It really is.
Yeah. No, it's exactly what it is, bro, because he has done just an absolutely phenomenal job, man. All right, so the Barkov stuff, good news, right? I can't, once I didn't hear that, we're worried he's concussed. If it was serious, they would have already had to give him, medical help, and they would have already talked about it. When they kind of didn't go in that direction right away, I was like, it's hockey, bro. These guys are really tough. He'll be there, and I guess he got a full practice in today.
He did. He full practice, regular colored jersey, so no physical contact limitations or anything. Certainly a massive sigh of relief, but it's scary when you see your captain. Just look, across the board in sports, they're taking hits to the head seriously. Finally, yeah, obviously, but so you see Barkov take a forearm shiver to the chin and get a little woozy. Like there was one point where he tried to pick himself up and he kind of went back down, and you're like, oh shit, what's that problem here? He's going to be in the protocol. He's going to have to get looked at because that's how it is. But there was also concern the way he was kind of holding his jaw. Was he holding it in place? Is there a possible break there? Obviously not, because he was out there. His face was intact and he was wearing a normal helmet and everything. But all these, questions come into play. Fortunately, seems fine. If, no setbacks between now and tomorrow, it looks like all signs will be he'll be playing tomorrow in Edmonton. So the Panthers may have lucked out there. But again, like you were saying, you don't really see Leon Draisaitl of all players taking a shot to the head of another team's captain. So whether the Panthers are in the Oilers' heads or not, kind of maybe they are. But, fortunately for Florida that they're not going to lose their captain. Now maybe the Panthers will go into Game 3 with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder based on the way that all that played out. I kind of think, if Florida goes out there into this crazy environment tomorrow and wins in Edmonton Game 3, this series is not coming back home.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. They're already in their heads, bro. We've watched this already. This is what they do. That third period. Well, I sat there with my wife in Game 1. I told the story here on the show that I go, here's the weakness for the Panthers. And she looks at me all weird, and I go, the start of the game. If the Oilers can get off to a hot start, this is their weakness. But if they don't, and you allow the Panthers to figure your ass out, it's over. Once they figure you out, it's done. Your people will not have the same kind of success. And sure enough, it took them 2 periods. Okay, but something happened after that second intermission that they figured it out, because in that third period they just said no, it's not going to happen anymore. And then they did it again in that entire game. So and they're the kind of team that they seem to feed off the road. They seem to love to play. So if they go in there tomorrow night and do the same thing, they'll do what they did to the Rangers. They will break their will. They're already in their head. Now you break their will. You frustrate them because they can't be themselves. And if Draisaitl,
you get to this point,
right? If Draisaitl and McGregor can't be themselves, brother, that's frustrating.
Yeah, well, it can't be good when you play a certain way, you're comfortable, you're confident, and then you get to the final round and suddenly you get smacked in the face, and what you've been doing to this point isn't good enough. And then where are you left, right? What do you go from there?
What does that remind you of, by the way?
It's not that dissimilar.
Remember a couple of years ago, 105 points and all that, and scoring and all that. Remember, like 3 years ago, what was it?
Four-game sweep to Tampa Bay. That's how that ended.
Remember that? Because we got there and we go, oh wow, Tampa punched us in the mouth. Yeah, we can.
But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have Paul Maurice. We wouldn't have the team that we have right now. So it all happens for a reason. But that's just the way that Florida is. It's not just this series. I mean, you can go back, I think, the last four fourth periods. Whether it was Game 5 against the Rangers when Anton Lundell scored the third period goal to send it back to Florida with the lead, the way they shut down the Rangers in Game 6 to win that series, and then obviously what they did to Edmonton in Game 1 and really the whole game in Game 2, but particularly towards the end, the way they shut it down. That's just, they're comfortable. That's what they want to do. They want to frustrate the shit out of you. They want to go into your building and shut your fans up. And so this is going to be a fun exercise for the Panthers, considering that they're full strength. They don't have to worry about any limitations. It'll be a great test, and they've been passing these tests throughout the postseason. So Game 3 should be fun.
All right, so they could catch your work at the Hockey News, but, tell them about the Hockey Show with Roy.
Yeah, Roy Bellamy and I have been doing the Hockey Show now this entire hockey season. We've traveled around. We've had some amazing guests. Our shows air on the Levitard Network every Friday, and then we also have been sprinkling in some fun post-game videos, some travel videos. We did Media Day. So we've been very fortunate to do some very cool stuff. And depending how this week shakes out, we might be on a very early flight Friday morning down for Edmonton, depending on how things go. So it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun going on. And please, catch all of our work on the Hockey Show.
And props to Levitard, by the way, because, he has expanded that whole thing and given a lot of people great opportunities. So that's I think that's a real beautiful thing that he's done, because we know our business is dog shit. So it's good to have people like Levitard in our business, man. So
it's a blessing. It is a blessing.
So, Dan, great job by him to expanding and help out a lot of people, man, in the process. So good shit. Follow him on Twitter at David Dwork. David, I hope you're off to the flight to Edmonton, because then that means we're up 3-0 and you'll be covering a sweep. So appreciate the time, my brother. Thank you as always.
Amen, brother. Take care. Be good.
You got it. There you go. The great David Dwork. Catch his work there at the Hockey News. And, of course, catch the Hockey Show with him and Roy Bellamy, that they do an excellent, excellent job. And follow both Roy and David also on Twitter. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. There you go. David Dwork, as always, getting it done for us.
This is the Big O Show. This is the